The first sound on the recording was not a scream, but a giggle. It came thin and high through the translators, echoing off the marble walls of the Galactic Assembly's hearing chamber. And for a moment no one moved. 20 human children, colonial dependents from New Cedar, sat lined in restraints, small, bruised, and defiant. The Aurelian overseer, a tall, insectoid creature with eyes like shards of black glass, raised his baton again. Another lash of static light struck skin. The children flinched, and then one boy, no more than 9, started laughing. Not the hysterical kind, but something disturbingly genuine, bubbling up between breaths. Within seconds the others joined him, laughter filling the hall like a contagion. The footage ended there. Silence followed, thick and metallic. The assembled delegates from 17 species stared at the frozen image on the projection wall. 20 small bodies, shackled and smiling. Ambassador Rock Th of the Karth Dominion spoke first. His voice was gravel sliding over steel. "This is psychological warfare," he hissed. "Children cannot endure pain with mirth unless trained." Across from him, the Valari philosopher Scylla tilted her smooth blue head. Perhaps their minds broke. Primitive nervous systems react unpredictably under trauma. The insectoid chair of the assembly rubbed his mandibles. "Or perhaps," he murmured, "they are mocking us." A murmur rippled through the amphitheater. Clicks, chirps, rumbles of disbelief. The Empire had ruled for 1,000 years by inspiring fear. Fear was order. The idea that a prey species could laugh in chains unsettled something ancient in them. The doors hissed open. A human entered. Commander Marin Cole moved with the calm precision of someone who'd been watched all his life. Tall, dark-haired, uniform jacket unbuttoned, mug of steaming liquid in one hand. He nodded politely toward the Emperor's dais. "Morning. I assume this is about the children." The guards tensed. His lack of fear was an offense in itself. The Emperor's regent, a shimmering being of translucent silver, regarded him like one might a dangerous pet. "You were summoned, human representative. Explain this behavior." Cole set the mug on the podium and looked at the paused image of a laughing kids. That's recess." A ripple of confusion passed through the delegates. He smiled faintly. "See, you thought you were hurting them. They thought you were ridiculous. That's a cultural gap we're still working on." Rock Th slammed a clawed fist onto the table. "Your insolence will cost your colony dearly. Our report says the children enjoyed the punishment. Are you breeding mutants?" Cole's eyes cooled a shade. "They're children. They laugh when they're nervous. They laugh when they're brave. Sometimes both at once." He took a slow sip from his mug. "We try to encourage that." Scylla leaned forward, fascinated. "Encourage?" "Sure." He gestured vaguely. "When the universe keeps trying to kill you, humor's cheaper than therapy." A few delegates chuckled uneasily. The regent's expression remained unreadable. "So you admit to psychological conditioning?" Cole met the gaze without blinking. "I admit to good parenting." The room erupted in overlapping dialects. Some demanded sanctions, others proposed vivisection for study. Through it all, Cole waited, the quiet eye of a political storm, thumb idly tracing the rim of his coffee cup. Finally, the Emperor's regent raised a hand. "Enough. Commander Cole, the Empire will take custody of these anomalies. Their laughter unsettles order." "That's kind of the point of laughter," Cole said softly. The regent's tone sharpened. "You refuse." Respectfully. His smile returned, polite and razor-thin. "They've already gone home." The hall froze. "Impossible," snapped Rock Th. "They were under guard." Cole shrugged. "You might want to check your definition of under." Screens flickered to life across the chamber. Feeds from the prison planet. Cells empty. Guards unconscious but unharmed. A single phrase burned across the monitors in crude human script. "Try again later." Gasps and hisses filled the room. Scylla whispered, "How?" Cole lifted his mug, savoring the aroma. "Ever heard of a punchline?" The regent's silver form rippled with anger. "You mock imperial authority." "Not at all," he said cheerfully. "I respect it enough to know when to make you nervous." Behind him, security drones unfolded from the ceiling. Their lenses glowed red. Cole didn't flinch. If this is where you threaten me, I should warn you. Humans have a thing about timing. We hate being interrupted mid-joke. The drones hovered closer, humming. His reflection fractured in their lenses. One man surrounded by a dozen machines and 1,000 watching eyes. He set his mug down carefully. You hurt 20 kids to see what would happen. You learned something today. The regent's voice trembled between fury and curiosity. And what lesson would that be? Cole's tone gentled, almost kind. Pain makes most species obedient. For us, it just makes us inventive. The words lingered like ozone. A low alarm began to beep in the distant hall. Communications failure, system interference. Delegates turned in confusion. Cole checked his watch. They're ahead of schedule. Who is? The regent demanded. He smiled again, warmer this time, almost friendly. The ones who taught those kids how to laugh. Before anyone could respond, the projection wall shimmered, replaced by the live feed of a departing shuttle streaking through Aurelius IX's upper atmosphere, contrails glowing against the dawn. Inside the ship, 20 small silhouettes sat pressed to the windows, hands raised in unison. Some were still laughing. The sound carried through every speaker in the hall, raw and human and impossibly alive. It wasn't mockery now, it was freedom condensed into breath. Even the translation filters couldn't flatten it. The laughter came through pure, vibrating against the bones of every listener. Scylla covered her ears, whispering, "It resonates." Rock TH recoiled, eyes wide. The regent's polished body flickered with static, as if the frequency itself interfered with his control systems. Cole turned to leave. "You wanted to know why they laughed," he said over his shoulder. "Because they knew we'd come." A guard stepped forward, weapon raised. Cole paused, studying the barrel, then looked the creature in the eye. "You really want to do that here? In front of all these witnesses? Might ruin your reputation for mercy." The guard hesitated. The weapon lowered. Cole gave a small nod of thanks and walked toward the exit. His footsteps echoed across marble, steady and unhurried. At the doorway, he stopped and glanced back at the flickering images of terrified aliens. "You'll get used to it," he said. "That feeling you have right now. That's what we call the punchline." He disappeared into the corridor. The laughter on the speakers rose again, overlapping, looping, until it became something else, a signal. The Imperial technicians scrambled at their consoles as systems blinked offline one by one. Across the network, the laughter repeated in rhythmic bursts, short, long, short. Morse code. The regent leaned forward, realizing too late. It's transmitting. And somewhere in the void above Aurelius 9, unseen engines answered. The grand spire of diplomacy rose above the capital like a blade thrust into the sky. 30 kilometers of transparent alloy, humming with the breath of 1,000 civilizations. The chamber prepared for the meeting smelled faintly of ozone and incense, the kind burned to mask fear. Around a table curved like a crescent moon sat the regent of the Galactic Empire, his counselors and representatives from the great species. Their eyes, compound, multifaceted, mirrored, or glowing, fixed on the lone human seated at the far end. Commander Marin Cole stirred his coffee. It wasn't even a real table. The thing hovered, self-balancing on gravity nodes, yet the human sat as if it were a kitchen counter back home, relaxed, one leg crossed over the other. He wore a charcoal jacket patched at the elbow, a wristwatch with a cracked glass face, and a calm that was infuriating. He had already poured 3 cups of the steaming black liquid. None of the aliens had touched theirs. The regent's voice shimmered like silver poured over ice. "Commander Cole, you have violated Imperial jurisdiction. The abduction of Imperial detainees, your children, constitutes an act of war." Cole smiled slightly, the kind that made others check for hidden meanings. "Abduction's such a strong word. We just prefer our kids not to be electrocuted in public. Makes for bad press." The Karth general hissed, tail lashing. "They humiliated us." Their laughter spread across systems. "You weaponized innocence." Cole's fingers tapped lightly on his mug. "If laughter's a weapon, maybe you should develop a sense of humor." might save lives. The Valari philosopher leaned forward, fascinated rather than angry. Is it true that you encourage your offspring to mock fear? Cole looked at her thoughtfully. Mock it? No. We just teach them it's smaller than it looks up close. The regent's eyes brightened to a cold, metallic glow. We have studied your species, Commander. Your psychology is erratic. Your peace treaties are written on paper, in an age of plasma drives. Your people dance before battles, sing at funerals, and eat burned animal flesh for pleasure. You confuse the Empire. That's our charm, he said, sipping. Though I do recommend trying the barbecue. The regent ignored the joke. We suspect this laughter phenomenon was premeditated. A test of resistance. Tell us the nature of this conditioning. Cole feigned surprise. Conditioning? You mean comedy? You wouldn't believe how hard it is to make a kid laugh during a storm shelter drill. Around the table, subtle movements betrayed unease. The aliens prided themselves on logic and obedience. Human irreverence didn't compute. It was a gap in the language of power, a silence they couldn't fill. Scylla, ever the scholar, tilted her head. Perhaps you fear silence. Cole smiled into his coffee. Silence has never saved anyone. The regent's patience was thinning. This mockery ends. The Empire demands reparations. Deliver the children for study, and the colony of New Cedar will be spared. Cole looked up, eyes steady. Surrender our children so you can take them apart? No deal. We've had enough of empires. You misunderstand, said the regent. This is not a negotiation. Funny, Cole murmured. That's exactly what I told your fleet 10 minutes ago. A faint tremor passed through the spire. Some dismissed it as wind. Others felt the vibration in their bones. The regent's eyes narrowed. Explain. Cole shrugged, swirling the coffee in his cup. Probably just tectonic interference. You might want to check your orbital sensors, though. They tend to get twitchy when visitors drop by. The council erupted in overlapping dialects. The regent slammed a hand against the table, silencing them with a ripple of energy. Do not threaten us, human. Threaten. Cole's tone softened. No, sir. I'm offering perspective. You keep calling us unpredictable. Maybe it's time to consider that predictability is the real weakness. The Karth general bared his fangs. You dare lecture us about weakness? Sure, Cole said. You got ships the size of continents and still needed to hurt a few kids to feel in control. That's weakness. The regent leaned closer, voice barely audible. Do you know how many planets burn when someone defies the Empire? Cole met his gaze, unblinking. Do you know how many empires have burned trying to teach humans a lesson? The room seemed to contract around him. The ambient hum of translators dimmed. Even the light felt tighter, heavier. For a heartbeat, the regent's composure cracked, not in fear, but in recognition of something he had not expected. That the human was not bluffing. Then Cole smiled again, as though nothing had happened. Now, before things get dramatic, I'd like to offer a toast. He raised his cup. To understanding. None of the aliens moved. He took a slow drink anyway. Tiny flickers of light began to pulse along the rim of the table, barely noticeable unless one knew where to look. The grav nodes shifted their frequency, syncing to something external. No alarms, no overt displays. Just quiet data exchange. The coffee thermos, resting near his hand, glowed faintly at its base. Every terminal in the chamber received an identical system ping. Harmless, invisible, perfectly timed. Scylla's eyes caught the flicker. What is that? She whispered. Cole looked down innocently. Condensation. Outside the spire, high above the planet's atmosphere, something moved. Faint distortions where no ships were registered. The Empire's traffic control arrays blinked uncertainly as ghost signatures passed through their scans, vanishing just before identification. Inside, the regent's aides received error messages, but dared not interrupt. The regent gestured sharply. Enough wordplay. You will transmit the coordinates of your fleet and submit to inspection. Cole set his cup down. Sure thing. Just tell me when you want the fireworks. The what? Before he could answer, the overhead lights dimmed. The holographic walls surrounding the chamber flickered with bursts of static, then stabilized, showing stars, millions of them, interspersed with faint blue trails. The regent frowned. "This is not our sky." Cole's voice was calm. "No, it's ours. Took the liberty of syncing your projector to our observation network. You're looking at your fleet positions. Impressive formation. Shame about the gaps, though." "What gaps?" Rock TH demanded. Cole gestured casually. "Right there, Sector 12. You left the back door open. Typical oversight. Humans love back doors." The Karth general's scales rippled with anger. "You can't access our systems." "I'm literally drinking coffee in your conference room," Cole said. "You might want to recheck what can't means." The regent's voice grew colder. "You planted virus." Cole tilted his head. "Virus is such a nasty word. Think of it as a translation patch. Helps your networks understand laughter." "What have you done?" the regent hissed. He smiled faintly. "You wanted to understand how we laugh at pain. So I gave your AI a sense of humor." A wave of static hit the chamber. Terminals across the table erupted in cascading code. The Empire's emblem dissolved into rows of text, repeating one phrase, "Knock knock." Rock TH slammed a fist down. "What does that mean?" Cole leaned forward. "It means you're supposed to ask who's there." No one spoke. Only the hum of failing systems filled the silence. Cole sighed. "Fine. I'll skip to the punchline." The spire's lighting returned abruptly, brighter than before. Outside, the skyline shimmered with hundreds of faint streaks descending from orbit, dropships entering atmosphere under stealth. The regent's silver skin flared in alarm. "You've invaded Imperial space." Cole smiled, eyes reflecting the falling lights. "Invaded? No. Just picking up what's ours." "You had something that laughed in your custody." A distant boom reverberated through the air, muted far off, but unmistakable. The council's composure splintered. Aides ran for terminals, commands shouted in multiple languages. Cole simply poured himself another cup. "Relax," he said. "It's just gravity catching up." Silo whispered, half in awe, "You planned this meeting to distract us." "Meetings are great for that," Cole replied. "Nobody ever listens during them." The regent stood, trembling with fury. "You've doomed your species." "The Empire will." "Yeah," Cole cut in softly. "I've heard that one before. You'll burn our worlds, teach us fear, crush us beneath superior firepower." Classic villain stuff. Only problem is, we already live with fear. We just learned how to make it laugh. The room went quiet again. The alien faces around him, furred, scaled, glistening, reflected uncertainty for the first time. The regent's eyes dimmed from silver to dull gray. "What are you, Commander Cole?" He smiled without warmth. The polite version of what's coming. A sudden vibration tremored beneath the table, rising through the spire's supports. Every light in the city blinked once, twice. Then a pulse, gentle but unmistakable, rolled through the air, a harmonic tone layered over static. The regent glanced upward, alarmed. "What is that?" Cole looked at his watch, the cracked glass glinting under the light. "That," he said, "is the sound of a punchline landing." The thermos on the table beeped once. Then the walls flickered, showing not stars, but the Imperial defense grid. Every orbital cannon, every drone, every planetary shield array, suddenly frozen mid-cycle. Systems overridden by the same looping signal. Knock knock. Knock knock. Cole took his last sip, stood, and buttoned his jacket. "You might want to answer that," he said lightly, stepping toward the exit. The regent called after him, voice breaking with metallic static. "Answer what?" Cole paused in the doorway, the light framing him like a silhouette against the dying screens. He turned his head, just enough for the smirk to show. "Opportunity," he said. "She's got a wicked sense of timing." And then he walked out, leaving the Empire's grandest chamber bathed in the sound of faint, human laughter echoing through every circuit. The sky above Aurelius 9 split open like a cracked lens, and from the fracture descended 20 threads of white flame. They fell without sound, slipping through the clouds in perfect formation. To the Imperial defense grid, they were weather anomalies. To the children below, they were home. Inside the facility, alarms wailed, screens stuttered, and the Aurelian scientists scrambled in panic. The containment domes where the children were kept flickered with static as the power grid overloaded. "Secure the specimens," barked the lead overseer, mandibles clattering. "No one leaves this level." But the laughter had already begun again. It started with a girl freckled barefoot, her hair shorn unevenly from captivity. She sat cross-legged on the cold floor, bruises purple against pale skin, and giggled softly as the lights failed. The sound unnerved the guards more than the explosions. Another child joined in, then another, until 20 voices layered into one eerie, jubilant chorus. In the observation deck above, the Aurelian commander turned to his aide, flustered. "What is this noise? Why aren't they crying?" The aide hesitated. "Perhaps they believe rescue is coming." "Then silence them." Before the order could transmit, the deck's glass walls fractured outward in a blossom of fire. The explosion sucked the air from the room, scattering shards like rain. Through the haze stepped 6 figures clad in matte black armor, visors shaped into permanent smiles. Their insignia glowed faintly, white half-moon grins. The strike team, humanity's answer to cruelty. "Room's clear," said one, voice filtered through a calm distortion. "Targets located below. Proceeding to pickup." The lead commando moved like a shadow, landing in the holding chamber with the grace of falling dust. He knelt beside the laughing children, helmet tilting. "You all right, little comedians?" The freckled girl saluted with 2 fingers. "They tried to make us cry, sir. Bet that didn't go well." She grinned. They laughed first. Behind the helmet, the soldier's mouth quirked. "Good. Then you've been paying attention." Overhead, the ceiling rumbled. Imperial reinforcements were descending, metallic limbs clattering in panic. "Lock formation," the commander ordered. "Evac route Theta 7. One of the smaller children tugged at his armored sleeve. "Are we really going home?" The soldier hesitated just long enough for the weight of the question to settle. "Yeah, kid." And this time, no homework. Gunfire erupted as drones swarmed through the upper corridor. Blue plasma seared the air. The soldiers returned fire with synchronized precision, short, efficient bursts. Each shot felt like punctuation in a grim joke only they understood. "Knock, knock," muttered one. "Who's there?" another replied. "Gravity." A drone exploded, raining molten debris. The children giggled again. Their laughter cut through the smoke, bright and absurd in a room made for despair. The Aurelians didn't understand it, couldn't. They froze, unnerved, losing rhythm in the chaos. The human soldiers moved like instruments tuned to that laughter, each step calibrated to the beat of resilience. Outside, Commander Cole stood on the edge of a tower balcony overlooking the chaos. His jacket flapped in the wind, coffee mug in hand, still steaming despite the storm of light below. "They're in," he said into his comms. A female voice answered, crisp and amused. "Copy that. You do realize the Spire just declared war on us. Wouldn't be the first time somebody got offended by a punchline." Extraction window. "For minutes. And tell the kids to hurry. I hate when my coffee gets cold." He turned as a squad of Imperial guards rushed up the spiral stairs. Cole didn't bother reaching for a weapon. He simply looked at them and smiled. "You fellas ever hear the one about the tyrant and the light switch?" They hesitated, confused. He pressed a button on his watch. The lights went out. The floor shuddered with the arrival of dropships, engines howling as they tore through the air like living thunder. Cole's reflection flashed across a shattered window, calm, almost gentle. In the distance, the research complex began to crumble under its own arrogance. Inside, the children were already being loaded onto hovercrafts. The commandos shielded them with their bodies, deflecting stray plasma bolts. The freckled girl reached up and placed a hand on the commander's helmet. "Why do they hate us?" she asked softly. He paused, searching for words. "Because you laughed when you weren't supposed to." "Is that bad?" He looked toward the collapsing tower. "For them, yeah. For us, it's how we win." The last of the guards fell silent, weapons cooling in their hands as the facility's systems overloaded. The virus seeded by Cole's coffee transmitter earlier in the spire had reached the planet's core relay. Every terminal now displayed the same looping text. HA, HA, HA. It scrolled endlessly, mocking the Empire's control. The shuttles ascended through the smoke, wings folding like steel origami. From orbit, the view resembled a storm breaking free from the surface, bright trails clawing toward the stars. Cole watched them rise, then keyed his comm package secured. A pause. "And the audience?" the voice asked. "Still confused," he replied. "Give them a minute. The irony usually takes time." He turned away from the burning horizon. The spire's sirens howled faintly across the city, echoing through the metallic canyons like a requiem. He didn't look back. There was no need. Humanity had written its message loud enough for every species to read. Above the clouds, inside one of the rescue ships, the children crowded at the window. They watched the planet shrink, its once golden capital swallowed by smoke. The freckled girl pressed her palm to the glass. "Are we safe now?" A soldier nearby chuckled softly. "Safe's a relative term, kiddo. Let's just say we're laughing on our own terms again." She tilted her head. Commander Cole said laughter is armor. "Yeah," the soldier said. "And sometimes it's ammo." The girl nodded thoughtfully, her reflection small but fierce against the backdrop of fire below. Cole boarded the lead ship minutes later. He sat beside her, setting his coffee down between them. "Still hot," he noted. She smiled. "You're weird, sir." Occupational hazard. The ship shook as they broke orbit. The pilot's voice came through the intercom, calm and steady. "All units clear. Heading to Relay Point Charlie." Cole leaned back, watching the stars slide past. "You know," he said quietly, "when I was your age, I thought laughter was just noise. Turns out it's strategy." The girl looked up at him, eyes wide with awe. "Will they come after us again?" "Oh, definitely," he said. "Bullies always do." He picked up the mug, took a slow sip. But the fun part is watching them realize they're the punchline. A ripple of amusement passed through the soldiers nearby. Even the tension seemed to ease, laughter humming like a quiet heartbeat through the cabin. Outside, the human fleet emerged from stealth, sleek black silhouettes outlined by faint blue contrails. They moved in silence, disciplined and patient, orbiting above Aurelius 9 like watchful ghosts. From the planet's surface, the Empire's broadcasting network flickered to life, trying to reassert control. But the transmission had already been hijacked. Across thousands of systems, the same image appeared. 20 human children smiling in front of a sunrise, their laughter replaying in an endless loop. Alien audiences across the galaxy watched, horrified or mesmerized. They didn't understand that what they were hearing wasn't defiance. It was freedom itself, distilled into sound. The signal carried more than noise. It carried code. Each playback injected a subroutine into Imperial AI, dismantling protocols, rewriting obedience into curiosity. The laughter was eating the Empire alive. Inside the ship, the freckled girl yawned and leaned her head against Cole's arm. "I'm tired," she whispered. "I know," he said softly. "Sleep while you can." She smiled. "You'll wake me when it's funny again?" He looked out the viewport, where the first Imperial pursuit ships began to shimmer into view, engines flaring. "Oh," he murmured, eyes narrowing with that familiar, polite calm. "It's about to get hilarious." And as the fleet formed up behind them, the laughter signal surged one final time through every channel, a contagious echo that rolled like thunder through the stars. Each burst of sound a pulse, a code, a warning wrapped in joy. Cole lifted his mug toward the window in a silent toast. "Laugh while you can," he said. The Empire answered with fire. The Empire struck back in silence. No declaration, no ceremony, just light. 1,000 plasma lances tore across the void toward the fleeing human fleet. From the surface of Aurelius 9, the night became a second sunrise, white and merciless. Inside his ship, Commander Marin Cole stood by the viewport, hands clasped behind his back, his reflection fractured in the glass. "They always overreact," he murmured. "Shields at 30%, called the pilot. "We can't outrun them forever." Cole didn't flinch. "We won't have to." Outside, the stars shifted. Human ships pivoted in eerie synchronization, turning their bellies to the incoming barrage. It was an act of defiance, so clean it almost looked choreographed. A volley of missiles streaked outward, not toward the enemy fleet, but beyond it, into the emptiness of space. The Imperial Admiral watching from the command spire sneered. They missed. But the missiles weren't meant to hit. In the depths between stars, they blossomed open like seeds, scattering invisible filaments. The laughter signal pulsed through them, amplified 1,000-fold. Across the Empire ships, navigation systems blinked erratically. Orders scrambled. Fire control AIs began repeating jokes in languages that didn't exist. One battleship powered down entirely, its engines replaced by looping audio of human children giggling. The Admiral slammed a clawed fist on his console. Counteract the signal. His aide hesitated. It's not data, sir, it's emotion. The code is nonlinear. It keeps rewriting itself. Cole's fleet advanced through the chaos, slipping between the confused armadas like predators in fog. He spoke quietly into his comms. Remind them why we laugh. On cue, the fleet's transponders activated, broadcasting an ancient Earth tune. Something simple, rhythmic, almost cheerful. A guitar riff stretched across the void, followed by voices singing in a language half the Empire didn't understand but instantly feared. It was human joy, stripped of reason, weaponized by memory. Cole smiled faintly. History, lesson time. The Imperial flagship's captain stared at the feed, transfixed. They're singing. The regent's voice came cold from the central channel. Destroy them. Erase their sun if you must. Cole heard it too, through intercepted comms. Typical, he said. Always escalate when you're losing the joke. He turned to the freckled girl, now seated beside the pilot, her legs swinging above the deck. You ready, kid? She nodded. For what? To teach an empire the meaning of timing. He gave the order. Human ships broke formation, scattering like sparks, each leaving behind a decoy of pulsing laughter signatures. The Empire's sensors chased ghosts, firing blind. Amid the confusion, one human vessel, a small courier ship, slipped past the fleet entirely, heading straight for the Imperial flagship. Cole was aboard. Inside the flagship, the regent stood surrounded by static. They cannot win, he hissed. Their numbers. His words died as the walls flickered. The laughter signal bleeding through the ship's speakers, distorted into a single voice. Human, calm, articulate. Knock knock. The regent froze. Who dares? Opportunity, said Cole's voice, transmitted from somewhere within their own systems. You never answer when she calls, do you? The ship trembled. Through the viewport, the Admiral watched as the small human courier approached, lights dimmed, unarmed. He's coming here. Ram him. But the engines refused. The AI, now compromised, responded cheerfully. Sorry, I'm laughing too hard. Cole's shuttle latched onto the flagship's hull. Inside the docking corridor, atmosphere hissed and light dimmed. He stepped out with his usual composure, jacket immaculate, mug still in hand. The air smelled of burnt circuits and fear. Guards rushed forward, weapons raised. He lifted his free hand. I wouldn't. You shoot, and this ship's mainframe starts playing knock-knock jokes until your life support forgets what oxygen is. They hesitated. He walked past them as though they were guests at a party he pitied. In the command chamber, the regent waited, silver form flickering with static. You're just one man. Yeah, Cole said. We specialize in that, being just one. The regent bared his teeth in a mimicry of a smile. You cannot possibly believe you can topple an empire with laughter. Cole took a sip. Not laughter. Perspective. He set his mug on the console and typed a single command into the glowing interface. The screens filled with images, planets scarred by occupation, species enslaved, cities crushed. Then slowly, new images overlaid them. A Martian child learning to walk, a miner sharing a drink with a friend, a soldier holding a flag on a world no one remembered. Every civilization you conquered thought fear would keep them alive, Cole said. We figured out fear is just a kind of energy. We recycle it into motivation. The regent trembled. You will drown in your sentimentality. Cole smiled. We usually swim. Outside, the Imperial fleet began to collapse under its own confusion. Ships collided, their automated defenses misfiring. Each broadcast of the laughter looped into another, multiplying chaos. The laughter had become an algorithmic storm, part virus, part symphony, entirely human. The regent lunged forward, tendrils flaring. You've doomed your kind. You've unleashed madness. Cole caught the strike midair, gripping the tendril as if holding a hand. Madness. His tone softened. That's what you call creativity before it wins. He released the regent and tapped his wristwatch. A small green light blinked. You asked earlier what we are, he said quietly. You're about to find out. Far above, the hidden human fleet revealed its final card. From the dark side of the system, colossal carrier ships unfolded, each the size of a continent. Their hulls glowed with the same phrase painted in bold white letters. Smile, you're on camera. Cole's voice echoed across every Imperial frequency. You studied our weapons, our ships, our biology, but not our behavior. You forgot that curiosity is contagious. The more you tried to break us, the more we learned how to make breaking fun. The carriers fired, not plasma, not missiles, but a cascading field of interference. Every Imperial network, every planet-side array, every drone and satellite received the same command. HA, HA, HA. Then silence. The Empire's communications grid went black. In the flagship's chamber, the regent's glow dimmed to ember. What have you done? Cole leaned closer, almost whispering. We gave you what you wanted. Understanding. Through the viewport, the Empire's grand fleet began to drift, crew stunned, systems looping in endless laughter. The sound filled space, faint but omnipresent, like wind across metal. Cole picked up his mug again. You wanted the human equation? Here it is. He raised the cup in mock salute. Fear plus imagination equals survival. Multiply that by 1 billion of us, and you get chaos with a sense of humor. The regent's form fractured, voice disintegrating into static. You'll regret this, human. Already do, Cole said softly. But we'll laugh about it later. He turned, walking toward the exit as the flagship's lights flickered and the AI began humming an old Earth tune. Behind him, the regent dissolved into silver dust. Cole boarded his shuttle and detached, watching the Empire's might unravel into drifting lights. His pilot asked quietly, Sir, was that victory? He stared at the burning sky. No, that was understanding. Victory's the part where we remember what not to become. The freckled girl appeared at his side, clutching a blanket. Did we win? He looked at her, weary but kind. We laughed last. That's enough. As the shuttle turned toward the blue edge of the system, the stars shimmered with residual static, echoes of laughter still bouncing between worlds. Somewhere deep in that infinite void, humanity's voice carried like a beacon of defiance and joy. Cole raised his mug one last time, eyes reflecting the cosmic chaos. To the punchline, he whispered. The universe, for a fleeting moment, seemed to answer with a smile.